What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Weeb Weekly. We are back after a little hiatus. There was a lot of things going on. We were busy, but hey, we are ready to give you some amazing content that you deserve on every platform. Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for supporting us on the YouTube, on the Patreon, on the Spotify, everywhere that you consume us. It's been an absolute blast to bring you all the nerd culture, everything that nerd culture has to offer. And again, I am joined by two amazing, beautiful people, Travis and Mizu. Tell the people how you're feeling.
Feeling good. Feeling good to be back. Missed you guys. Missed your beautiful faces.
New haircut, who dis? That's only for the people that are watching us. That's only people that are watching. You know, there's some perks to watching us, you know. Mizu, how you feeling?
I'm feeling very opinionated today.
Ooh.
A lot of things have gone down. A lot of people are sharing their opinions about very important pop culture events. It's almost, you can say, maddening.
Okay, it do be like that sometimes. It do be like that sometimes. But I appreciate the segue. So this weekend, there's a lot of things that have happened. We're gonna keep it pretty centered on three main topics, obviously. Our boy Travis has not seen Multiverse of Madness, so we're not going to go into spoilers, but we are going to cover the movie as a whole. So it's Multiverse of Madness, the amazingness that happened at the Moonknight finale, and obviously Spy Family, because we are at episode 5, episode 4 or 5? 4 or 5? I don't remember. 5, yeah. And it is absolutely bonkers. So before we begin, let the people know where they can find you.
Hey guys, you can find me at Travis the Sibling at Instagram and on TikTok. I hope I see you there.
How about you, Mizu?
You guys can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube.
Love
and
to
if you're
see
watching
it.
this on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell button for more videos.
Yes, and share it with your friends, because we love to add more people to the Weeb Weekly. So if you want to find my stuff, it's at I'm Tropical Joe. That's where we're doing the Stack 'em Up polls. That is on my Instagram. You can find that on TikTok as well. I also have a Spanish page called Spicy Tropics, and I just started my gaming YouTube. It is Tropical Joe Gaming. I have my main channel where I cover all things pop culture, and then my gaming channel where I cover all the fails that you can enjoy. But with that being said, there are many things at hand and a multiverse that we have to explore. So, gentlemen, shall we begin?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so a very small picture from a very small studio came out a week ago, and it's called Dr. Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, the first step into a larger world where there is multiple cameos, craziness ensuing, and of course, in this case, mixed reviews. What did you guys think in terms of the reception of this film compared to the hype that it had over the past couple of months building up to it?
The reception. That's a good question. I mean, of course, this is one of the most anticipated movies that people were looking forward to, besides, No Way Home. And of course, with the repercussions of what happened in the last phase and what has been currently happening in the Disney Plus MCU TV shows. So a lot of people were expecting a lot of things from Multiverse of Madness. And it all depends on you. Like, some people say it delivered, some people say it didn't. Some people are like content. It's a mix. So weirdly enough, it's been a mixed bag.
A mixed bag. That's a great way to say it. All right. I appreciate that.
Yeah, as someone who didn't see it, and I was very excited to see it, I am terrified to watch it, because going into it, it was like, this is the movie. It is Avengers Endgame. It had that entire atmosphere of trying to prep for another cinema masterpiece that's gonna just shake every box office score and everything. And then it dropped, and it wasn't that anymore. It was like, there were some videos where, from people I trust, like Mitsu, who's like, yo, it's great, man, and blah, blah, blah. And then I see other people who are my mutuals screaming about how dare they do this to Dr. Strange, angles that don't work, and Sam Raimi can't make a modern superhero movie, and all these crazy allegations and stuff. So, yeah, it is. It's not good.
Okay,
with the reception.
I totally get that. Well, I'll give you guys my take without any spoilers.
Please.
I think this movie is a well-made movie with a ton of story flaws. And that is all on a subjective level because the movie is really well made. That is something that I do disagree with a lot of the pundits and the critics. Sam Raimi did a great job directing this film. It felt the Sam Raimi isms are clear in this film. You can definitely see it with the transitions, the camera angles, the way that the scenes are shot, the horror elements. This man it's not like super scary, but it definitely has references to The Evil Dead, to The Terminator, to The Ring. There's Wanda is a horror villain in this film from what we saw in the trailers and how that is executed on screen. The horror elements are what truly make the show shine, right? It subverts expectations by following a non-traditional horror timeline, right? A horror. The tone is set in a very particular way as a horror movie. With that being said, there are some decisions, particularly surrounding Wanda's motivations and the way that they are carried out. Considering that we had a lot of WandaVision in this show, so I do feel like this is one of the biggest. One of the movies that requires the most amount of previous knowledge in order to fully enjoy it. So I think you did a great job of like staying put in order to finish finish WandaVision. I would say What If and WandaVision are the ones that like you need the most, really. You don't really need to see all of Loki to enjoy this film. But there's a lot of previous knowledge that you're going to need in order to fully understand what's happening. And I feel like there are some expectations that were set throughout the marketing of the campaign, the marketing campaign for the film, that were not realized in the best way possible. I'll just say that. Mizu, do you agree with this assessment?
So I definitely do, because I gave my review because I saw it and I liked it for the most part. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't think it's perfect, but I definitely agree that, first of all, one thing that people tend to forget, that because a lot of people are pointing the finger at Sam Raimi. Mind you, Sam Raimi was the director. He did not write this story. Mm-hmm. He did what he could with what he was given script-wise. And with that being said, he was able to turn what that was into still a spectacle. Mm-hmm. So I'm just like, I say I tip my hat off to Sam Raimi, because I'm like, oh yeah, you made this kind of nothing-ish story into something cool. So, but he didn't write this. Yeah. So I just want to make that clear. But yeah, like with that being said about Sam Raimi, the Raimi does show throughout this movie, his little nods and stuff like that. I think my only biggest critiques, I would say, about the film was, I'll say the weird camera angles, but then again, like, you can make the argument that's signature Raimi thing he does, but some of them were just like very like odd. Yeah. And it just stood out to me. I'm like, okay. But the one thing I definitely agree with, because I kind of go against the grain with a lot of people with this movie a little bit. But the one thing I do agree with is that people were expecting more when it came to the whole multiverse thing. Because, it's called Dr. Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So a lot of people were expecting different multiverses, different all kinds of things. And we got that, but not to a full capacity that we wanted to. I will say this, we do explore multiverses, but it wasn't like a multiverse fest of like, oh man, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're doing this. Like, no, we stay in a general area, I would say. Yeah. And again, like, I like what we got in. I didn't necessarily have a problem with Wanda's motivations, because I can get into an argument with that later on, but that was another critique people had about that. But overall, I think it was a solid film. Like you said, the horror elements were great, and it does stand out. I will say that this movie stands out. It's not your standard formulaic MCU film, which is one thing a lot of people complained about the other ones, that they feel very samey. They all have a rhythm to it that some people found boring.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they don't go outside, they don't do things different. They all direct the same. Until this one, I would say stands out. Like, oh man, this one does not feel like the others. But yeah, like I said, it's a solid film, but it could have been, there could have been more stuff, in my opinion.
True that. True that. All I have to say for you, Travis, is this is the biggest lesson that I got from watching the movie. I've seen it twice. Just manage your expectations. That is the biggest thing that I wish somebody would have told me before watching the movie, is manage your expectations, because you will get the multiverse and you will get some solid cameos. You'll have what they sold you, but it's not Avengers Endgame. It's not and that's something that I thought was gonna, from the marketing and the theories that were going around online based on the cryptic tweets and stuff like that. That's what we were kind of expecting, right? So manage your expectations and everything will be fine. I do think there were some story things that, depending on who you are and how you like your superhero films, you could definitely like be nitpicky. I definitely understand why they did what they did. The fact I don't agree with all of it, but I definitely feel like it was a bold decision and a bold new wave for the MCU. So like, if you want to do like a horror film for the future, like let's say Blade, let's say Ghost Rider, I would love to see Sam Raimi do that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Facts. My bad. I was going to say
please,
that.
Go ahead.
I didn't expect Marvel to go in the horror aspect. I wanted them to, because, there are some very interesting characters who can be put into, like, as you just said, Jose. And before this movie, I didn't think it was going to be possible. I didn't think Marvel was going to push themselves that far, because, they have the, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of mindset. And then they had Multiverse of Madness. And like I said, like, everybody is divisive about it. But one thing I would say that is important, that they're willing to experiment. And even though it might not be always on the nose of what they want to, at least shows that it's going to be an improvement. So yeah, I would definitely like to see Blade. Maybe not necessarily Sam Raimi, but like the fact that if they're willing to go down this horror, fantastical fantasy kind of way, I can't wait to see what they do with Blade. I can't wait to see what they do if they do go with the concept of the Midnight Suns and things like that. So, or, the Moonknight and all of them going forward. So I see there's potential behind this. There's future potential.
I agree. There's a lot of areas for improvement. I don't think that this is going to be a deterrent. I do think this is one of the more polarizing Marvel movies that has come out in a little bit. But I don't think it's because it's a bad film. Like I don't think it's like Thor: The Dark World or anything like that. But I do feel like depending on who you are, you will enjoy this movie differently, and that's fine. That's perfect. That's exactly what cinema is for. But yeah, we will wait until Travis sees it to go full into spoilers, because there is a lot that we need to talk about. But with that being said, you did mention Moon Knight, Mr. Mizu, and that is something that we definitely have to talk about. Holy damn. Moon Knight season finale. What a way to end it. First impressions. Tell me how you're feeling.
Me too. You want to go first?
Bro, I would just say I never thought I would see a kaiju fight amongst gods. That part, I was like, and what am I watching right now? And overall, this was a great finale. And like we said before, Moon Knight is definitely my number one now. And the ending solidified it. I love that we got to see fights between two Egyptian gods. We got to see...
Super powerful.
Exactly. We got to see Mark and Steven work together, come together, and, what's the word? Unionize with each other and make something cool. And then I think one of the parts that I didn't expect to happen, Layla. Bro, Layla being an avatar as well, even though she says it's temporary, but whatever. I think she should stay, but I get her feelings about it. But man, I was like, wow, I did not see that part coming at all. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I'm like, yo, I want to see more of Layla now. And I like how they subvert some expectations, especially with the fight between Moonknight and Haro, in the way they did that. And I was like, oh, wow. That was a bold move to do that. And overall, this finale was great. The best finale out of the Disney Plus MCU shows. One of the best finales. I would say Loki is still up there for me, but this one was great.
Listen, guys, when it comes to character work, Moon Knight runs laps around every other MCU show. I don't even at your mom. That is don't talk. It's not even close. Not a debate. I'm blown away by Oscar Isaac because I've seen interviews with him, and essentially he didn't have to go that distance with portraying DID, but he really wanted to portray the disorder authentically. And I've even seen people on TikTok who, a particular person, have DID and talk about how authentic it is and how great it is to see that kind of representation. Oscar Isaac, it's insane to see the development of an alter. Like, to see that moment when they were created was nuts. Like, I feel like the finale, the show itself, it is absolutely outstanding. I will say this though, I am confused about the mental asylum. I don't know what's going on with that. They tricked me a couple times now where I'm like, okay, it's not a mental way. It is, I guess. You know, like someone's dead, and especially like that final scene, I'm like, yo, what is real, what isn't? I don't know what's going on. Yeah, so I want to understand what the mental asylum is, hopefully one day. Last point about it though, I really do think, I wish that I saw that third alter do his work. I wish I saw him fight. Because whenever he just shakes and then he turns off and everyone's laid out, I'm like, come on, I wanted to see that. I feel like Layla being the Avatar was great because they've given Layla the most badass fighting scene so far. And it's more than Moon Knight, both alters. I feel like she's been killing it in the fighting department. I was happy to see her become an Avatar. But yeah, I wanted to see like whatever that third alter's doing, I wanted to see that in action. But besides that, man, loved it. Absolutely loved it. I'd say it is my favorite by far.
Nice. I'd love to see it. Hey, I also feel the same way as you with regards to the asylum, at least until we had the explanation from Tower. So essentially, the asylum, quote unquote, is technically like limbo. It's the transition from your place of death to Duat, which is the sands of the sands that lead to the field of reeds, right? So they lead to the gate of Osiris. That's where you get judged, and then if you are deemed pure, you go into the field of reeds, which is essentially the ancient Egyptian afterlife, or paradise, I would say. The thing is that at the end there is an asylum, and I think it's based off of like Harrow's separation from Amit, basically sends him to down like a deep dark spiral, and then just Khonshu just takes advantage of that, because I remember he was beaten to like an inch from death, and that's when he is separated from Amit. Amit is essentially enshrined and essentially destroyed. But then he does speak to Khonshu. Like, he speaks to Khonshu within the car in the post-credit scene. So he is conscious. He's just obviously taken aback, or like, I mean, I guess recovering could be said. Could be said. Maybe like he suffered a concussion or something like that. So the asylum was a metaphysical construct, but I think the one that we see at the end, it's just a regular like hospital for Harrow. Unless they're just, I mean, unless nothing is real. That's another possibility.
And I think that's a good analysis. I guess what really cements my confusion is we see Steven, or I guess one of them, we see him like dead in the, and I'm like, why? If this is Limbo, why is he dead here? And why is there an altar? Like, why are the altars separate in Limbo? Is that like a nod to DID saying like, hey, there is no original, like they're all just fractures? And I don't know. That's why I'm like, I'm just confused.
Yeah. That also had me confused. I from the girl on TikTok, which is explaining her experience with DID, like they function as parts of a whole. Like there's no original. There's just one person that's taking the limelight at the moment. In the case of Moonknight, we know technically that like the original or the main one is Mark. The main one is Mark. The other ones are fractures or alters, right? Of the whole. Not really sure how they're gonna take it moving forward in terms of explaining how Jake fits into there and how he's able to take control over both of them and nobody can remember anything. But I'm so excited to see Jake Lockley come to life. I don't know, like, how did you feel, Mizu?
I absolutely love, because I've been telling my wife, you know, I've been studying Moon Knight for the past couple of weeks, because like I said in the beginning, I didn't know much about him. But as the story progressed, I watched YouTube videos, comics about it, and Jake always seemed interesting. And I like the take that they're doing with Jake. And I have a theory, or I wouldn't say a theory, but I think a lot of people, I think, are similar to this. So, you know, as they explain DID, you know, Steven came out of there because of his messed up relationship with his mother and trying to get that perfect life that he never had. That's how Steven exists, as his like safety net, as you said. I think Jake might represent his inner aggression.
That makes sense.
Even though like his inner aggression, because even though Mark is a mercenary, he still has that, you know, guilty feeling when he does these things, like, and he always does it for like a purpose. And then Jake, as you can see, Jake is ruthless. Jake, when we first get a glimpse of him or what his deeds, he kills those people that Steven let go. And then, of course, the big Harrow fight, not only did he take down Harrow, he literally took down everyone in the vicinity. And of course, you know, at the end, he's the one that finishes off Harrow and Ahmet. So I think that, in my opinion, Jake represents like his inner aggression, his inner like dark feelings that sometimes he stores away. And because of doing that, Jake exists. But we will see in the future what they're going to do with him. But yeah, and then first of all, I also love the fact that they kept Khonshu kind of morally gray.
Okay.
And Khonshu has been like, I like him and dislike him at the same time. Like I would work with him depending on what is going on, but I keep my distance because he is a shady dude, a shady guy. And the reason why is because, I mean, we saw at the end, he finally let Mark and Steven go, but he manipulated the fact that he has DID. And it was just like, oh, I'll let you and Steven go. But Jake didn't say anything. So technically, I'm not, and plus I can see that coming up in the future. They're like, oh, you were supposed to free us. And he's most likely going to say, oh yeah, I freed you guys. I never said anything about your friend Jake. That, and let's be honest, it's kind of foreshadowed too, because Mark and Steven have been ignoring Jake. You know, all those hints that they know Jake exists, but they ignore him. Like, especially that tomb, because I say that because that tomb in the asylum, they both looked at it and just left because they didn't want to open it.
They didn't want to deal with the smoke. They didn't want to deal with the smoke.
Exactly. So I won't be surprised if even within, because you know how Steven and Mark had their confrontations. I can imagine how Jake feels throughout this entire thing. Oh yeah, y'all been putting me on the sideline. Y'all won't let me do what I got to do. So can you imagine in the future, whatever installments that they do with it, how they're gonna have to try to reason with Jake now.
Kind of like sorry to interrupt. Like the biggest thing that came to my mind was the Green Goblin and Norman Osborn thing from No Way Home. I'd like came to mind. I was like, he's on sabbatical, honey.
Bro, can you imagine like trying to reason with him? Like, no, you gotta get on the Moonknight thing. He could be like, why?
Yeah.
And you know what? He's like, I think it's pretty cool. You're not gonna lie, I like doing it. I said it. I like doing it. Like, oh God, but I can't wait to see more. I will say I wish we got more of Jake, or more. I even say more hints and stuff like that of him. But yeah, again back to what I originally was saying. Khonshu being morally gray like that, it's very similar to the comics. Cause I think in the comics it's even worse in the comics. Yeah. So yeah, I like how they kept that instead of trying to make him, good and all that kind of stuff.
I love that. I think that the one thing I think is the most shocking about the Moon Knight show, and I would love you guys' take on it, is the reception. Because all three of us here are like, man, that's fire. But I've seen a considerable amount of people say, hey, it's slow. They don't like how the plot's going. They feel like there's unnecessary things in it. And I respect the opinions. Y'all, it's valid. I'm trying to see it. I'm just trying to understand it, because to me, this is peak. The way the pace, especially the pacing of it, I feel like it's critical, because so much of this is about the journey, like discovering that you have DID. Like, you have DID, you have it to this degree. There's other people inside of you who are also you, that you're learning. They're living other lives through you. And that kind of discovery, the way that it's been orchestrated in the show, I've never seen DID navigated with such tact and respect before. And it takes time to do that. So, like, I would love to know you guys' take on it. Do you feel like there is slow moments? There could have been things taken out of it. What are your thoughts?
To be honest, I'm in the same boat as you, Travis. I was trying to understand from the other side of what like the issues are, and I just couldn't personally see it, because especially the pacing part. So I was looking back at it. Okay, let's look at the plot. So we find out that there's a guy named Steven living his normal life, and then he finds out that he has a double life. And then with that being said, there is a man who's trying to summon a Egyptian god who's trying to rewrite the world. And first, it starts off with the Scarab. The Scarab was the important first MacGuffin that we had. And not in a bad way. I'm not trying to say MacGuffin in a bad way, but like it was.
It was a MacGuffin. It was a MacGuffin.
Yeah. And it was the key to finding Ahmed's tomb. So the first job was to not let them get the Scarab. They failed. He got the Scarab. Okay, I like how they failed, and there was like, okay, what's plan B? What's plan B? Okay, how about this? We beat him to Ahmed's tomb. So they do that. They go on that journey. As we're going on that journey, Steven and Mark are figuring out who they are, what's going on, while also trying to establish or reestablish their relationship with their wife. Okay, because it's like banter and all that stuff while we're going on that trip. Then Khonshu comes in, has his plan to, okay, how about this? We put the gods involved in this and try to let them stop, to try to stop him. Plan fails. And on top of that, Khonshu is put away. Okay, now we've lost our power set. What's the next thing we do? Okay, we still need to beat him there. Even though we don't have our power set, we still need to beat him there. They beat him there. Obviously, they get there, and he gets there beforehand, but they're able to take him down, and they find Ahmed, but of course he fails. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that I didn't see how the pacing was wonky. I don't see how the pacing was bad, because everything fit. Everything fit. The way they got there made sense. And of course, another argument I heard a lot of people say is that, or at least what some of the Marvel shows so far, is that they don't like how all these grandiose things happen, but it doesn't feel like there are any real consequences to it. And they summoned this Egyptian god, but now what? He defeated him, but we all know he's going to win though. And I've been hearing that argument, and I'm just like, and I'm not trying to downplay or nothing like that. It's like, but y'all do understand this is a comic book a show, right? It's like not trying to, again, not downplay it, but like 9 times out of 10, their hero is going to figure it out. They win. And we're getting to that point in the comics where it's going to be like that. Yes, and plus, let's be realistic here too. The only time we see our heroes fail was literally Infinity War. Infinity War is like the only movie,
and Civil War, kind of ish.
And Civil War, and amongst, you can say, personal relationships. But like that's the only time when we see our heroes fail. And then in the next movie,
everyone was waiting for the next movie. Yeah,
exactly. And even then, people are just like, "Oh, well, we don't know." And then, of course, they come back and they win. And so I'm just like, yeah, what do you expect? And again, I'm not saying that there can't be better writing to it, better consequence to it, but I'm like, if that's one of your concerns, I'm just like, maybe that's just how I look at it. I'm like, yeah, they're going to have some grandiose things happen. And of course, they figure out a way to stop it. And sometimes there aren't consequences to it. I mean, we all love Spider-Man No Way Home. If you think about it, in the grand scheme of it, at the end of it, there were no consequences besides Peter being forgotten.
Aunt May. Aunt May was up.
Oh yeah. I
mean, that's the big one.
Aunt May was a big one. That was a big one.
No, I mean, as in like people are expecting real world consequences, like Endgame. Like look at how everybody talks about the blip. Oh yeah, the blip. We see it throughout the whole entire series that the blip is mentioned throughout the even the MCU shows and stuff like that. We haven't had anything like that since then, and people are expecting consequences like that to happen in almost every show or every villain to have that. I'm like, I don't think we should be expecting everyone to be like that. Every MCU installment to be like that.
You know what's another thing? They say it lacked expediency. That was one I heard that, like, I try not to focus on internet takes. To say it lacked expediency, I was like, how? They didn't feel like there was no rush to get to Harrow. Which
is fine.
Do you agree with that? Do you feel like there was no rush?
I feel like, honestly, to a point, Harrow took a back seat to the exploration of Moonknight and, of Mark and his other alters, because that is essentially the crux of the show, right? If Mark was in control all the time, he would have been very expeditious in finding Harrow really, really quickly. But part of the slow nature of the show is him trying to explore who he is and figure out how to work with his other alters, because he's been keeping them bottled up for so long, right? Like, I feel like one of the most heartbreaking and poignant moments from the show is when Mark confronts Steven, when Steven's like, I'm out, I'm not doing this, I'm gonna take control. And that's it. It's like, call your mom, take out your phone and call your mom. And he's trying to call her, but like he realizes, oh, I don't know her number because she doesn't exist. That makes sense. So like that moment like really hit me. He's like, oh, you can't leave me because you are a part of me. That scene hit really deep. And then once they figure that out and are able to go into battle, and like Steven takes control for a little bit, and then you see Moonknight take control for like the harder parts, and then he's like, okay, Steven, I'm gonna need your like spontaneity on this, and like he's just like trying to like figure out how to help Layla and stuff like that. Like all of those small details make leaps and bounds in levels of character development. Because people always like to, like the internet reviewers and internet pundits always say a character arc. We have four character arcs in one person, and it's an Emmy award level performance from Oscar Isaac, who literally takes on 4 different people at the same time. It's really tough to do, and it was super satisfying to see him mesh it all together in a seamless way. I feel like there wasn't the rush wasn't needed. I didn't want to rush. I wanted to see everything.
Plus, it kind of would have been smart because, again, you are taking let's be honest, not a very well-known character that only, like, if you are a hardcore comic book fan of Marvel, you would know about him. Like I told you beforehand, I did not know who he was. So I like how they took their time to establish who this character is. Like, hey, this is Moon Knight. You don't know who he is. Okay, this is what he's like. This is the issues that he has. This is the kind of stuff that he deals with. And I like how they fleshed it out, because they could have skipped to the story beats and expect you to understand who he was. And that just, to me, it just wouldn't have worked. Some characters, some people are able to pull it off, and some characters you're able to get right into the grit of it without getting all the intel about them. Of course, as the story progresses, you will get more intel in a way. But no, I like how they explained it more. They played into it. One little tidbit I do like is, like, I like how they actually gave him, he actually had DID. Because at first it seemed like he only had it because of Khonshu. Because Khonshu has many aspects of him. Therefore, that translated to Mark. But I like how he actually had DID. And we see that. And I like how it grows. And I like how we said earlier, how it's a part of him and he can't just get rid of it like that. And I like how even when Khonshu was gone, Steven was still there. Steven was still there. His other personalities were still there. Alters were still there. So I like that. I appreciate that.
I do. I appreciate. I feel like this show had so many things to do and nail right in a span of 6 episodes, and after episode 4, we were like, how are they gonna tie this all together if we're starting from square one 2 episodes before the finale? And I feel like they landed in the best way possible. I feel like we needed the post-credit scene to kind of have like a solid ending, because I was like, bro, there's no way they ended it like that without a post-credit scene. So the post-credit scene made up for a lot on the finale, but I still think this might be my favorite Marvel MCU show on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
I feel like that is definitely warranted on the character side, on the action side, on the expanding the scale of the MCU, now introducing the gods from another pantheon, which we hadn't seen before. It was definitely worth it.